Hello again, I'm Jill Mackay and I'm a member of the Headspace crew. We're a group of experienced organisational mindset, well-being and change experts who've come together to support organisations, managers and teams during this coronavirus crisis and afterwards too. What we're doing is producing a series of short videos aimed at helping managers with simple, effective tools, ideas and strategies to help them stay productive and sane also while working at home or also managing remote teams at home, which of course can be tricky at the best of times. What I'm going to do now is share the slides for video 2 in this motivation series. Welcome to video 2 in the motivation series, how to motivate your team in uncertain times, where I'm looking at how to keep yourself and your team motivated at home with some insights and tips to give you some practical ideas. You'll be able to use them immediately, and the good news is that they will also be useful when the lockdown eases over the next weeks and months. A reminder that there is a simple PDF document that you can download and use to take notes in for some exercises, and I've also provided a headline summary of the content in the document as well. You can see the link for the download on this slide if you haven't got it already. So the exercises in there are for you to consider for yourself as well as for your team members, as of course you'll gain some insights from your own personal context that could be useful in a future discussion with your team. So in video 1, I talked about the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. And now I'm going to give you some further insights into the intrinsic side by discussing a well-respected and researched area called self-determination theory. And despite its rather grand title, it is easy to understand, and I'm sure that you'll find the elements useful when you think about encouraging motivation in your team and helping them and of course yourself if you feel motivation waning. And let's face it, that happens to all of us at times, let alone in the uncharted waters of the current pandemic. So as a manager, you need to keep going, keeping the wheels turning, achieving results, targets and outcomes, helping your team to do the best that they can. And you may even come up with some great new ways for working during this crisis that you particularly enjoy. So do spend some time exploring some of the ideas here, look at the exercises and work out what parts will be useful for you. Before we look at the self-determination theory elements, I just want to acknowledge some realities of the current times. The current situation of working at home remotely inevitably means you need to rely more on your intrinsic motivation. And it's understandable in a testing time that it's challenging to keep your motivation high all of the time. We're all living with the backdrop of a completely new pandemic, which means we're all living in that environment of uncertainty. My colleague in the Headspace crew, Caroline Ferguson, has offered useful mindset tools to help with anxiety, uncertainty, and self-sabotage, so how you actually get in your own way in her videos. So do visit those videos for her great insight, tools, and ideas and resources as well. Uncertainty flies in the face of motivation for many people, so these tools may help. For many of us, lockdown has disrupted our daily rituals and routines, leaving us feeling unsettled. And we also recognise that everybody's situation is different. Some will be at home schooling with their kids, others live in a busy flat share with communal spaces, others on their own. So this recording can't talk to each individual situation. However, it will give you a start point with some practical ideas. And of course, all of this is delivered against the backdrop of achieving the organisation's goals, keeping standards, and working towards the required KPIs, outcomes and results. Self-determination theory says that humans have 3 basic psychological needs: autonomy, mastery and purpose. So self-determination enables you to feel that you have control over your choices and your life. And of course it has a big impact on your motivation. Inevitably, you're going to feel more motivated to take some action when you feel what you do will have an effect on the outcome. And it grew out of the work of psychologists Edward Dacey and Richard Ryan, who first introduced their ideas in their 1985 book, Self-Determination and Intrinsic Motivation in Human Behaviour. And it has been deeply researched ever since. I've put a website reference in the PDF handout if you're interested in looking further at their work. So we're going to be talking about these three elements of intrinsic motivation: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Autonomy is around your freedom to choose the work you do, the way you do it, and your ability to make decisions around it. Mastery is about building your expertise, deepening your knowledge so you feel that you add value and you do your best work. Purpose is about understanding your why, connecting to the reason you're doing this work and the contribution that you make. Let's start with autonomy. So this is all about choice, control, and freedom. And these are strong words and ones you may not associate with working at home, because actually some of you may feel choice has been swept out of your life because lockdown is an imposed state. And it's useful to define within the current context what you do have control over. So at the end of this slide, I suggest you pause the recording and have a look at the first exercise for video 2. It's just a simple list, what you can and can't influence. You will see some examples. For instance, you can't control the work at home policy, or that team sessions now have to take place over Zoom or Skype. However, you can control within this context how much you contribute to the Zoom calls and what time you take your breaks. So do this for yourself and then share it with your team members. And now is a good time to have a chat with all team members about the latitude that they have in their decisions, and also do that with your own manager too. The current situation is the best time to show trust in your team and also to show how trustworthy we all are. After all, everyone is in the same situation, regardless of level in your company's hierarchy. Feeling trusted is a positive human emotion, and if it is felt sincerely, it really can help motivation. So to finish the exercise, look at your job elements specifically and those for your team. Is there any area you can discuss with your team to take more responsibility for, or maybe to let go of? This could be an ideal time to postpone or maybe deprioritize some of the projects they're working on to give them freedom to focus on new or different work which they find engaging, interesting, and that might make a difference to their overall results and that of the team. And of course, you always need to think about how the team are working towards their objectives and goals. Is there any flex in that at the moment? So the exercise also asks you to consider what can you stop, start, and continue at work. Get input from your team members on that. The simple stop, start, continue model is a good basis for discussion at any team meeting. And make sure you've also considered the why column. Why is that a good idea now? Why would it make a difference now? Because we have to be realistic. We can't just dump the work that we like less, and we can't ignore a work task that is absolutely necessary in order to achieve a performance goal. On to mastery now. There are many people who are taking this forced lockdown as an opportunity to learn some new skills or maybe to hone something they've started working on already. Humans are curious, and your team may come out of this time feeling much better about the situation if they've set some time to build their skills and think of themselves. So as a manager, it's a good time to have that discussion with team members, because satisfying curiosity can be hugely motivating. The time they previously took to commute could now be an opportunity for self-development. Many people use commuting time to read, listen to podcasts or other online learning, and it is something that can be easily plugged into a new look day. As a manager, please do emphasize though that commute time is time that your team have back. It's not good to lengthen their working day. And it is possible to apply new learning in the real life job context if they want to. Ask team members perhaps to run a short training or briefing in an upcoming team meeting, or maybe even contribute their new knowledge across the business on the intranet if they want to. It's a useful exercise to generate a list of options for team members to enjoy and share. And in a time like this, people are very open to supporting each other. So perhaps talk about launching a mentoring program or a buddy up system with a team member to support learning throughout this time. And it really doesn't need to be complicated, just a way of integrating the team through support and learning. But do make sure that people don't feel pressured to have to do something new. It's all about engagement if they want to. So I suggest you pause the recording to identify those areas that you want to develop deeper knowledge of and can suggest to team members. The internet is full of free resources like these recordings from the Headspace crew, and there are many online courses and sources of learning available, including TED Talks for lots of variety, and offerings from universities for detailed and specific areas of interest. Some of them even offer a qualification. And finally, let's look at purpose. So your team members will feel much more motivated working at home if they know the work they're doing is making a difference and it connects with their why or the why of the company and it's aligned. People have many different reasons for going to work, and they're really fortunate if they're able to choose a role that connects to their own personal values or a higher purpose. And if they feel that their work is contributing to the results the organisation needs to achieve, that it's aligned to that, then that will have a positive effect on productivity and motivation. So let's think about it. For some, it's about being able to earn money to support themselves and their family. For others, it's about helping people to be more confident. For others, it might be about teaching people to build their skills and get to that mastery status. For others, like many of our NHS key workers, it's about saving lives. There are many different reasons for people working in many different roles. So lots of people just go to work as it's what people do to earn money, which is fine. And for some people, work is a means of social interaction. That's important to them. So here, from a managerial point of view, it is important to recognise these team members may be struggling more at the moment if they don't have a personal why for the work they do. They may even wonder, well, what's the point? From a motivation standpoint, it's about understanding what it is about the job elements that your team members really enjoy, and then supporting them to do more of that type of work so that they keep engaged, and all the time helping them understand where their work fits in and where it matters. So for instance, perhaps someone on the team likes working with numbers and they perhaps enjoy working on the accounts. It may not be their specific job, but they enjoy it. And it's useful to know why that is. Maybe because they get real satisfaction for getting things in order and completing work. Or maybe because they have a skill set that others don't and they get a boost from this. Or maybe because they can see the finances are the important linchpin in the business plan and they enjoy contributing at that commercial level. So it is important to understand what each of your team members enjoy doing and help them to get why their work matters and where it fits in. And then encourage them to focus on those parts that do matter and to hang out there in their workday. It's all about working with your team to connect the priorities to the wider goals of the business. And communication is absolutely key at the moment. Being open, encouraging conversation, offering support, giving feedback, listening, and helping work through priorities in this challenging time. And all of this, of course, is based on fulfilling objectives and delivering results. So for the last exercise in this video, take some time to record your thoughts around purpose for yourself and also your team members. Do take time to do this and reflect on the earlier section of the handout where we talked about autonomy to see if thinking about purpose may influence your priorities for work you and your team could stop, start, or continue. So that's the end of video 2, looking at motivation through the different lenses of self-determination theory. When you've had a think about autonomy, mastery and purpose for you and the team, hop over to video 3, where I'm going to discuss some practical ideas to keep motivated while working at home that you can also discuss with your team members.